Hey everybody, welcome back to Skookum Milling. I think video number, I don't know, this will end up being video number 6, I think, in the Case Tractor playlist. One thing I wanted to talk about real quick, just I want to give a shout out to a few other channels that kind of emboldened me to take this on. I mean, I'm not afraid to work on anything mechanical, but really intrigued me. There's a number of channels that I follow pretty religiously because the guys are just they're great at what they do, and they're equipment channels, equipment repair rebuild channels. The first one is Squatch 253, and if you haven't watched his channel and you're into heavy equipment, I guess farm type equipment, let's put it that way, fantastic. He's got a series on a D2 that he is rebuild, a cat D2 crawler that he's rebuilding, and it is fantastic. And so I just encourage you to take a look at it. I've learned so much from him, and I'm going to try to mimic to my level of ability what he has done with that as I work on this case. Another one is Pacific Northwest Hillbilly. He's a guy in Oregon that's rebuilding a D4 cat. Same thing. He's probably more along my lines than more so than Squatch. Squatch is so professional and so good at what he's doing and so meticulous about it. Pacific Northwest Hillbilly, kind of like me, just we're just working to rebuild this thing to use it, and just kind of using what I have available on hand and what limited abilities I have. So that's another channel you should look at. A guy named Kyle Christ, who's rebuilding another D4, I believe it is, yeah, D4, and it is a rusty old hulk. You would never believe that tractor would ever come apart, be rebuilt, and go back together, but I have no doubt he's going to be doing, he's still disassembling it. I have no doubt that it's going to come out beautifully. Andrew Camerata just has all kinds of equipment that he buys secondhand, a lot of it broken down. He fixes it, puts it back together, puts it to work. He doing excavation work and what have you. Let's see, who else? Who am I forgetting? I mean, there's so many of them, but those guys really have inspired me. The first one that got me onto any of this stuff was it's a channel called Salvage Workshop. And this young guy just is not afraid to take on anything, from rebuilding an anvil to rebuilding a cat bucket loader. Just grabs old forklifts and drags them home and probably gets them pretty darn cheap and tears them apart and makes them work again. And so that's another one, Salvage Workshop. Check him out as well. So those channels, I just wanted to give them all a shout out because they're really what are inspiring me to do this. And I hope that mine come out even a 1/10 of the degree of thoroughness that all those guys are doing, and I hope that you find it interesting as well. So, okay, all right, well, we're going to get to work on this thing for today, and we'll see what we can do. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. It's the next day after pulling the head and the pan off our old Case 530 motor, and I'll just recap a little bit. I discovered that it actually lost a rod bearing in number 1 cylinder, and it allowed enough free play that the piston came up, smacked the head. So the piston was not coming to the top of the deck. That's why the cylinder wasn't firing properly. So anyway, now we know what we got. We know that it hammered the journal pretty good, and that rod journal, and the rod itself. The good news was that I pulled another rod, just one that was easily accessible, out, and that bearing actually was pretty good. And I pulled a main cap, and those were pretty good. So now they've all got to be replaced, obviously, and the crank is going to have to be turned. I hope that it's salvageable. That's the key. whether that crankshaft can be turned enough to straighten that journal out or not. And of course they'll turn them all to match at that point. It also appears to have newer bearings. Now it's weird because this tractor is clearly a 66 and those bearings were date stamped from 1967. So something has gone on. It could be they were new old stock, and this, because obviously the engine's been apart because it's all, somebody has numbered the pistons and numbered the rods and everything. So it was apart at some point. So they evidently got either new old stock or it was done within a few years of the tractor being built. So anyway, neither here nor there, but I guess the point is that the damage seems to be pretty localized to that #1 rod journal. So some of the things I didn't discuss yesterday were to show you getting the pan off. By that point, I was pretty flustered, not flustered, but I was getting tired, and so I didn't do much filming of that. So I'll recap that here in a minute and just kind of show you what went on there. And then today's project is to see about getting everything freed up enough to be able to pull that block out. And because we got to get it out and get it on an engine stand and get that crank out so I can get it to the machine shop and have them get a look at that so I can figure out you know, where I got to, what direction I've got to go from here. So hang on and I'll show you what went on with that pan. Okay, yeah, in order to get the pan off, rather than fight everything, I just decided to go ahead and, this is the bracing yoke that goes from the bell housing here up to the front axle and bolts on both sides. So I went ahead and just took it all loose and just pulled it back out of the way. So that way it was unencumbered. I had to take the tie rod off, of course, and then it was just a straight shot getting into the pan, which was really nice. So drained the oil. Really, you know, I cleaned the oil pan out before the drain pan out before I drained it, and gosh, just wasn't that much metal. I was really kind of surprised. I mean, as I look at it now, yeah, you can see a fair amount, but it only took out one bearing, so I guess that's why. So anyway, got up in here, got all the pan bolts loose and everything, and like I say, took that #1 out, drove it out, and then for the heck of it, pulled #3 out just for comparison's sake. Pulled one main cap off, and yeah, pretty straightforward as far as all of that goes. So got that all done and got that all accomplished last night. Now we're going to move on to seeing about how to figuring out how to get this block out of here. Yeah, so I've pulled a lot of engines in my life, but I've never pulled one out of a tractor. So this is all new to me, this whole splitting and everything. But what I think it looks like is if I block up the transmission in the back, get some blocks underneath it so it's good and supported, maybe go ahead and put some blocking underneath the hydraulic tank, which, you know, this is a hydraulic tank, but also is the frame. Basically, if I get some blocking underneath there just for good support, just for extra measure. I don't think it can drop if the transmission is supported, but I don't know for sure. Then I can start removing all of this in the front here, the radiator guard, which ties everything together. Remove all my hydraulic plumbing. I got to pull the hydraulic pump, of course, and get it out of the way, get everything loose down there, pull the fronts off, and then I think this whole lower bracketry and everything, I think I'll be able to just roll forward. Not really sure, but we'll find out. I'll just take a little bit at a time. There's really only like 6 bolts that hold. There's 2 in the front, or maybe 2 in the front, I think, and 4 on the transmission that hold the motor, that kind of support the motor. So we'll start picking away at it a little bit. Really wish I had removed this loader, but I just was afraid to, because I don't know what's going on here. This does not match the parts manual This, according to the parts manual, this is supposed to be a long bolt that goes through here with a nut on the other side over there. This has got a pin with a snap ring on it. Some guys have made the comments that they think that that might have been this tractor is a 530. They think that might be a 580 setup. And I think something has happened, because you can see this is all rebuilt up here. Let me get back away so you can see it. It's all been welded together, and so something happened to this tractor at some point. So it could be that they did that. So rather than mess with that, I just decided to leave it alone. I was afraid I'd never get it apart or never get it back together. So just gonna have to fight around this loader in the meantime. But so sit tight, and we will see what it's gonna take to get things out of here. Okay, so to get started today, I think I peeled some of the wiring back, got that stuff out of the way. I think I'll go ahead and pull some peripheral stuff off the motor. I'm going to go ahead and pull the starter. I think I'll leave the power steering pump on. Obviously, I got to disconnect the lines. Get that stuff out of the way. On the other side, let's see here. What do we got to do over here? We got some fuel lines to disconnect. One there, looks like. Of course, the throttle cable and all of that's got to be disconnected from the injector pump, but I'm going to try to leave the injector pump and the timing cover and everything on. I'd sure rather take those apart when it's on an engine stand. I know there's some delicate timing issues that I've got to deal with there. So yeah, just going to kind of get some of this stuff out of the way. Got to get these hydraulic return lines off and out of the way. They need to be cleaned up anyway, and so get those out of the way. And yeah, so I'll remove some of that stuff and then get back to you here. You know, I typically, I hope you guys don't mind that I'm not filming myself removing every nut and bolt. Just takes up a lot of time and it's boring. And so I'm just gonna give you a good idea, show you what I gotta do. I'll tackle it. If it's something unique, maybe I'll do a little filming of it, but usually it's pretty straightforward stuff, and so I'm not gonna bore you with that stuff. Plus, sometimes, you know, I skin my knuckle or something, I might say a bad word, and I don't want anybody to have their ears offended. So yeah, so I'll be back in a little bit when I've got some of this stuff off. Okay, got some stuff out of the way, got the starter off, and got all the wires peeled back, disconnected the power steering line. Over on the other side, I got the injector pump, the throttle disconnected. Got the fuel line disconnected. I've got the throttle linkage disconnected from the injector pump. So I think we're pretty good as far as the basic motor goes itself. So the next thing, I guess, is to start working on this front end. So I think I'll start by maybe trying to get these hydraulics out of the way. I don't know what kind of a mess that's going to make. We'll find out. Not really sure if there's a way to drain it, or I don't. It's low enough. Maybe there's not even a lot in there. So anyway, I'll start taking all this piping and everything apart to get it out of the way. The main pressure line disconnected, and then work on and then the pump's got to come out. So that means I got to take this front guard off and then disconnect that pump and pull it out. So yeah, so I'll get back to you here in a little bit. Everything's, like I say, once again, everything's pretty straightforward. So there's no sense filming this stuff. Nothing anybody with a pipe wrench and some big wrenches can't do. So if I come up against anything unique, I'll let you know. Okay, I'll check back in a few minutes. Okay, the opening's getting bigger. Hydraulic pump is out, all the plumbing's off. Yeah, I think at this point, let's see, I'll probably take these two hoses off. This one's pretty bad anyway, so it's got to be replaced. This one looks like, I don't know, looks like it was too long, but that's okay. Anyway, I'll take both of those off, get them just to make sure they're out of the way. And then I guess next is all this radiator guard stuff. But since that disconnects from the main chassis arms, that's really what holds those up here. So the question is, can I just support the transmission? It seems to me that should hold everything up, because it's not going anywhere because everything's bolted to the rear differential. So if the transmission was supported, none of these arms or anything could move, although it might, I don't know, I guess it could put a little stress on them or something. So I might figure out some kind of blocking to go between the bottom of these chassis arms and the ground here, just to be on the safe side, I guess. And go from there, because I think we're getting close to being ready to pull this thing out of here. So yeah, I think I'll do some blocking and maybe pull this, start to loosen this guard and see what happens. So we'll see. Okay, so got the radiator guard out. Got the hydraulic lines just kind of tied back. They don't want to come out of that cylinder very well, so I'm not, right now is not the time to mess with that. So it looks to me like if I put the tie rod back on and then just take these, there's only 2 bolts on each side that secure this whole radiator support, front axle support thing. If I take those out, that I can, it's gonna wanna pivot down just because of the weight, which would be okay if I can control it. Maybe I'll put a jack under it or something. But I think if I support that with the jack in the front and then take the 4 mounting bolts out, I think it will pivot down out of the way, and that'll just leave the motor hanging there exposed. It's held by 4 bolts. Got one there, got another one up back in here, right in there. And I think that engine will just be hanging there. I hope it's not too much weight for it, but I don't think it will be. And hopefully I'll get a cherry picker here pretty quick and yeah, and try to lift that motor out of there. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But time for a break, and we'll come back and reevaluate everything after lunch here. Well, okay, mission successful here. We got everything cleared out. We got room to be able to we get the cherry picker hooked on here, and we got plenty of room to swing the motor forward and pull it out of the clutch, or pull the clutch off the transmission shaft, input shaft, and yeah, we're ready to come out. Yeah, actually it didn't go too bad. Disconnected everything, just kind of rolled the whole front axle forward. So that worked pretty good. So I think we're in pretty good shape. Got everything pretty seriously blocked up down here, so there's no extra stresses on anything. I think we're good to go. So we'll yeah, we'll get out this, I'll get the cherry picker here and we'll get this thing pulled out. All right, well, we're back, and this is the day when the block comes out. So I got it kind of hooked up. Not much for chain, so I got it rigged up here. I think it'll be okay. Got the cherry picker all hooked up. Got the, what appears to be the only 4 bolts that hold the block to the bell housing all out. And I think I'm ready, so we'll see how this goes. Yeah, we'll see. I might set this up and film it. We'll see here. All right, well, it's out. Got a engine stand to put together real quick here. Went down and bought a Harbor Freight engine stand. Get that clutch and flywheel, everything off the back, so I can get it on the engine stand, and then we'll go from there. So I'll be back to you in a little bit. Okay, there's our Harbor Freight engine stand. I hope it's strong enough. I think it will be. And it's supposed to be a half-ton engine stand. By the time I get the clutch and everything off this and stripped, obviously once the front cover's off it and everything, it'll be a lot lighter. I'm sure it'll be fine. So yeah, so here this afternoon we'll get that, we'll get that clutch off there, see if we can get the clutch and flywheel off, see if we can get this mounted up on that engine stand and go from there. Okay, so we hit a little snag putting the Harbor Freight engine stand, or hanging this on that engine stand, in that the bolts that secure the motor to the bell housing are big. Looks like they're probably 5/8 bolts, and they don't fit through the holes in the engine stand. So I'm gonna have to modify this engine stand. Maybe they're closed, so maybe I can just run a drill bit down through them and ream them out a bit, because I've got two that go in on each corner down here, and then these uppers, and these are through holes, so I could use a smaller bolt and put through those, but these up here are blind holes, so I have to use these factory ones up here. So I'm gonna have to do something here. So we'll see what we can do with it. I'll be back. Okay, just about got these out. That one's not quite free yet. There it comes. I'll lock these down again. Okay. All right, so those are out. So now we can really look at how we're going to get this engine stand on here. It will reach, at least, so that's good news. So it'll reach, but let me see if I can get you adjusted. All right, well, one quick trip to the hardware store to get some bolts. I had to modify these. I had to drill them out so I could get bigger bolts, because this engine stand's really made for working on small block Chevrolets and Ford motors, and passenger car and light truck motors and stuff, not really heavy equipment like this. So it wasn't ready to accept those 5/8 inch bolts. So anyway, got them all reamed out and got it all in there, and yeah, everything looks pretty good. I think I'll leave the cherry picker on it for a little while, just because I just don't trust that engine stand that much till I get some of this front cover off and start lightening the load a little bit, and then we'll probably trust it. So like I said, I think it's rated for 1,000 pounds, so it's probably okay, but it is Harbor Freight, and yeah, so we won't take any chances. So now I guess I got to get this power steering pump off. Got to get the fuel filter assemblies off, and then start thinking about this injector pump. I gotta look at the manual first before I just automatically unbolt it and pull it out, because I want to know what the timing issues are with it prior to coming apart, and then we'll get that front cover off. And once that's all done, then we can turn it upside down and start working on getting the crankshaft out. So all right, check back in a little bit. I'll pull some of this stuff off here. Well, everybody, kind of gone as far as I'm going to go for today, I think. And We've done a pretty good job getting it out and getting it onto the engine stand. So from here, things are going to become more of a machine type situation, rebuilding and a machine work, cleaning things. We've got a million bolt holes to clear out. We've got bolts to chase the threads on. We got to still get some more things apart, but overall, I'm actually having fun. It's a bummer I got to put this kind of money in this old girl, but I think she'll be worth it when I'm done. And so yeah, kind of looking forward to it. We got a lot of pieces spread out, and it's a shame, you know, this is actually a woodworking shop, but it doubles as whatever I need it for. And right now it's an engine shop. So for the next couple of weeks, that's probably what it'll be. So once again, thanks to everybody for tuning in. Appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying this. I'm enjoying it, and we'll just keep plugging along. So make sure and like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll see every time a video pops up. Probably going to get back to some sawmilling here this week. Got some timbers to saw up, and I'll go to work on there, some logs to saw up into timbers. And so we'll have a couple of sawmilling videos up as well. So once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you in the next episode.